Homeless Adult Health Concerns by Caitlin Swenson. The definition of a homeless adult is an individual who lacks shelter or who has unstable housing. The age range is from 18 years to 64. Homelessness and health are very interconnected. Sometimes homelessness can cause poor health, and sometimes poor health can cause homelessness. So poor health can lead to an accumulation of medical bills. It can prevent individuals from being able to work. Once homeless, they usually can't access resources needed to stay healthy, and then their focus shifts away from their health to just getting their basic needs met. The size of the population. So locally, Davis County has 63 people in a point-in-time count. Statewide, 9 people are homeless for every 10,000. This is 0.09% of the population. In the United States, the homeless population percentage of the total population is 0.17. So, Utah has a lower homelessness population than the nation. Internationally, these numbers were a little bit hard to calculate due to different countries have differing definitions on homelessness. So the highest range was from 0.94 to 0.37, and then the lowest range was from 0 to 0.5. And the Utah homeless population being lower than the nation average could be due to Utah having poor weather. Usually homeless individuals migrate towards warmer climates. Also, more homeless people are often found in states that have a higher housing costs and decreased economies and decreased job opportunities. So Utah is doing really well with its economy, and we do have good job opportunities right now. And then compared to the nation, our housing costs are kind of in the middle. They're not too high. Two main places that had high homeless populations were California and Florida. And these are both warmer climates, have high cost of living, and poor economies. So this could be why there's a difference. So some social determinants of health that we see in this population is they have a low availability of resources to meet their daily needs. They don't have access to educational opportunities. They do not have access to job opportunities either before or after their homelessness. They have low access to healthcare services, low access to transportation. They are discriminated against and treated as outcasts by the general population, and they are exposed to a lot of crime and violence. Specific concerns that the homeless population has to deal with are, for the physical, low access to healthy foods, clean spaces. They're at risk for illnesses and worsening conditions. Psychosocial attitudes towards the homeless population are poor. And then also there's social disruption within homeless populations. Economically, they deal with underemployment, housing instability, and poverty. So the root cause that I was able to find was low income. So I did the 5 whys, and in the end, I kind of came up with, well, they don't have enough income to cover the expense of school, so therefore, they are able to get good jobs or don't have good job security. Therefore, they don't have enough money. Therefore, they have limited access to resources, and therefore, they're vulnerable. So one thing that I came up with when I was going over the 5 whys and answering these questions was, well, you have to have money to make money. If you're unable to have enough money or access to money in order to invest in your education, then you are most likely not be able to find a stable and good job that's going to be able to meet all of your financial needs. So that was what I found for the root cause, was low income. For Maslow's hierarchy of needs for the homeless population, honestly, none of them were met for this population. The lowest tier of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is the physical needs, and these are unmet. So all those tiers are unmet. So the anticipated functional level is very low for this population. They are expending their time and energy on trying to meet the needs of food, water, sex, sleep, homeostasis, and excretion. They're just trying to survive. There's nothing further happening. The likely health outcomes for this population are poor. They're at increased risk for illnesses. They are also at increased risk for exacerbating their current illnesses. So if they have an illness, it's going to get worse. If they don't, they're probably going to get one. So their likely health outcome is low. One quote that I found was that when people have stable housing, they no longer need to prioritize finding a place to sleep each night, and they can spend more time managing their health, making time for doctor's appointments, and adhering to medical advice and directions. So when you're focused on looking for a house, looking for shelter, looking for those basic needs, you don't have the time or energy to make that doctor's appointment. So, yeah, that one was just very strong with me. So, communicable diseases or acute conditions. So, the homeless population is at an increased risk for acquiring communicable diseases. Some examples of these are STDs or TB. These are very high in homeless populations. Acute conditions. So, the homeless population is more at risk for developing an acute condition due to exposure to unclean living conditions as well as tightly enclosed areas. Also, these acute conditions quickly worsen due to little chance to rest and recuperate. Non-communicable diseases. So, any disease is difficult to manage while you're homeless. You don't have access to medications, it's hard to schedule doctor's appointments or get to the doctor's appointment, or obtain other supplies that are necessary to manage your disease. Also, the stress of being homeless on the body can often worsen and exacerbate these symptoms. It's hard to adhere to medical advice, for example, diets or special instructions. When you're homeless, if they tell you you need to eat with this medication, well, what if you don't have dinner for that day? Then you're going to be taking that medication on an empty stomach. So, homeless people are also no longer able to focus on preventing health problems, and instead they focus on the big symptoms. So unless they have something that is interfering with getting food, getting water, fulfilling those basic needs, they're not going to attend to it. So if they have a broken leg, they're going to go get that fixed. They'll go and seek somebody to help them. If they have swelling, a cough, a cold, something like that, they're not going to go and visit a doctor for that unless they have to. So it's kind of, if I don't have to go, I'm not going to go. So usually it becomes big, huge symptoms before they're going to see a healthcare provider and addressing that issue. Let's see. So, one more. Self-care deficits. So numerous self-care deficits are seen in the homeless population. This is due to no access to resources necessary in order to adequately take care of oneself. Some homeless individuals suffer from debilitating diseases that make them unable to care for themselves even with the right resources. Most of the time, these individuals want to and have the ability to, but they're unable to because they don't have access. Self-harm in the homeless population, suicide rates are 10 times higher than the general population, and then more than half of people experiencing homelessness have had thoughts of suicide or have attempted suicide. So things that can be done to mitigate this harm, surveys whenever homeless people go to a homeless shelter. They can do surveys there to assess the risk of self-harm. Also, whenever a healthcare provider talks to a homeless person while caring for them in the hospital setting, they can do surveys then as well. So the risk for harm by and to others. So risk for harm by others is these individuals are often at an increased risk for violence. It can be physical, sexual, or mental. This is due to a lack of privacy or security. If you're on the street, you don't have protection from four walls and a roof. It's just you. So going to sleep, you're putting yourself in kind of an unsecure situation by sleeping and resting because you don't know what could happen. The risk for harm to others. So one study conducted found that homeless people bouncing from shelter to shelter were more likely to commit crimes such as robbery and assault. And this was due to the close living quarters with other stressed individuals. If you're stressed, they're stressed, there's bound to be more confrontation. So, and again, what can be done to mitigate this harm is homeless shelters can have security available in order to stop any of these issues that may occur, or also just trying to have resources available to get these people off the street and into their own housing, into a place that's secure and safe for them, will help to reduce the risk of harm by others and to others. And then there are my references. So, thank you.